All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Villar, and I am the Operations, Communications, and Events Manager here at Newton Community Farm. And I'm also a nutritional therapist practitioner. And I've been practicing nutrition therapy for the past 5 years before I started working at Newton. So I have a very specific skill set to share with everyone, and it's in and around how to stay healthy, not only in our time here where we're in our homes for an extended period of time, but also how to think through healthy recipes. So what I'm going to do for everyone today is just give you a tour of my kitchen, letting you know how I think through varying recipes. What do I buy in my home for myself and my partner? How do I prepare meals? What do I do in order for my recipes to actually stay longer? And what are some time-saving tips that you can continue to practice, not only in our time here where we're going to be spending a lot more time in our homes, but what can you do for the future? So hello everyone, and also there's a chat feature. So if you are with me live here, I would love to interact with you as much as I possibly can and answer your questions as we go along. So if you have a question or you just want to say hi, I'll be happy to interact with you as much as I can. That's actually make it more fun for me, so I'm not just talking to my little camera screen here. Okay, so let's sort of start with the basics. So the basics are right now, as of the recording of this video on Monday, March 23rd, our state here in Massachusetts, Governor Baker has issued that we were going to be in our statewide lockdown now for a couple of weeks, up until, I believe, April 7th. So what that means is that we need to really think about how we're going to be very wise in the time that we're going to go do our grocery shopping. So obviously we can still buy groceries. I went this weekend. The stores, for the most part, had everything that I needed. So I prepared myself for the week. So so right now it's about, how do I think through kind of a week's worth of groceries, how to make sure that those meals are going to be as healthy and nourishing for ourselves, to keep our bodies as strong as we possibly can. So the first thing is that we're going to sort of talk about what are some of the vegetables that you can buy in order for those to stay as long as you possibly can. So the first thing to sort of think about are tubers. So what are tubers? They are vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, and things like, I even have in the back of my here. We have some squash. So like squash is a great vegetable that you can purchase. So this has a tremendous long shelf life. It will stay ready to be able to use for like a very long time. So things like squash will be a great thing to buy. So let me kind of open up my refrigerator for you and kind of show you what it looks like inside and how I've like prepared it for the week, and also kind of share varying other recipes that myself and my partner have made over the past weekend and how we sort of think through our meals. So I'm gonna take my little laptop here with me and kind of walk you through what I got. All right, so the light is a little difficult because it's coming for it, but as you can see, I'm sort of like stocked up with eggs, with yogurt. I have a bunch of like cheeses in here. I have butter for all the sort of healthy fats. And then below here, My partner and I made a lasagna over the weekend. So this is kind of like a great thing to sort of think about. Like, how do I, make a meal that will last, not only for like one setting, but for multiple settings. Let's see, in here, this is where, once again, I talked to you about like my tubers. So I have tons of great sweet potatoes, root vegetables like carrots. In here are beets. More potatoes. And then for our snacking pleasure, we have more sort of carrots in the little packages. So all of these vegetables I actually bought like 2 weeks ago, and they're still great. So just having my little crisper all prepared, ready to go. These vegetables here are vegetables that I'm going to be making this week. So I just bought a bag of spinach to make to throw into some meals. Also think about getting some like peppers that are easy, like flavor savers, throwing into stews, crock pots. And then don't forget about like some greens that are good. And these are like broccoli. So you can like roast them, you can have them raw, you can put in meals. So a very good transfer. Hey, Paul, thanks. I like my t-shirt as well. And then milks. So obviously, milk that has an expiration date. This one goes until end of March. But then depending on like actually the brand of milk that you buy, like obviously the more preserved the milk, the longer it's going to sort of last, but not necessarily to be healthiest. So just think about, how much your milk needs are for you and your family, and kind of buy appropriately. I personally, I do a lot of fermentation. So this milk here, as well as this jar here. So this is what's called Kefir. And let me kind of just close this fridge so I'm not losing all the power. Maybe you can see me better. But Kefir is a fermented beverage. In this case, it's fermented milk that acts as a natural probiotic, and it's made through simply using whole milk. So unless you have the Kefir grains, it's kind of hard to do, but I just wanted to give you an example of kind of how I use some of my milks. And then I want to sort of share with you some of the things that like I've been doing for myself and just preparing in case we get sick and we don't actually have time to cook. I will show you that. But we do have a question on the chat is, how do you make kefir? Which is a great question. Okay. All right. So real quick. So the first thing that you need are actually the kefir grains. So in this jar here is the milk plus the kefir grains. And I'll give you an example of how kind of easy it is to do. So this is a little, obviously glass. And all you're going to do is going to pour a little bit of the kefir that it was being fermented. And then you'll take the milk and you pour it to the top of whatever jar that you're using. And then you'll simply cover the glass with a paper towel. And then put a little rubber band over the glass. And then you let the glass literally sit on the counter for anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. What you're looking for when it sort of turns actually into kefir is it will look like kind of yogurt, and it'll have like a tangy smell and taste to it. So that's how you know the grains did its job and it turned the milk into kefir, and then that is a natural probiotic. So probiotics are great for your gut health. They are the bacteria that actually makes all of the good guys in our gut. Another question is, can you just take store-bought kefir and add milk to do this? You can try. So for sure, experiment with it. I've had a grain strain from my mother that has been making it. The reason why I say sort of try, it's because I just don't know how strong that actual strand of bacteria is when it went from fermenting in a large facility and then all the transport that it went to actually show up on the shelf. So it's sort of like when you try to make yogurt from like a store-bought yogurt, it's really hard to do because you're not actually getting the live bacteria. Another question is, do you refrigerate the glass while it ferments? So no, right now I put it in the fridge simply because when you put your kefir in the fridge, it slows down the fermentation process. So right now I'm not actually ready to consume my own personal kefir because I just have so much other things that I'm planning to eat for snacks and breakfast. So right now I'm just letting it sit in the fridge until it's able to be used when I need to use it. Great question. Okay, all right. So now what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through things that you should probably that I would recommend preparing for yourself should you not have the ability to actually go to the store and or make meals for yourself. So this is now thinking through what happens if myself, who is the primary chef or cook in the home, can't make any meals because I'm like down for the count. So what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks is simply preparing large batches of stews and chilies and soups that I could then freeze appropriately in my freezer to simply just thaw and then heat up. So let me kind of show you what that looks like, and I'll kind of talk you through varying recipes and kind of give you guys ideas as far as like what to look for and what to research after you watch this video. So okay, so this is, I have one of those lower end freezers here, and it's got organized in two ways. I have a part here and part here. So these are a lot of my like proteins. Sorry, it's not, I'm trying to find the right angle. A lot of proteins, and then back here is where I've been preparing all of my beefs, stews, and chilies. So let me kind of pull out an example here, kind of show you and talk you through what I did. All right. Give me 1 second to all right. So here are some major pro tips. So what you're going to be pulling out for yourself are going to be your, hopefully you have one of these. So this is, simply a Dutch oven, or you have a slow cooker or a crock pot. So those are going to be your two major tools and appliances in all of this right now. The first thing to do and consider is to make some like chicken soup. So I made this beginning of March. I labeled it to know how fresh it is, but as you can see, it's pretty rock solid, ready to go whenever I'm ready to have it. So the first thing to do is to consider getting a whole chicken. So get like a whole chicken and then roast this up and prepare, a roasted chicken meal for yourself and your family. So from there, you're going to have one meal, that's the roast chicken, and you can put the tubers around there, like the potatoes, the squash, the carrots, the onions, the garlic. It will be a very, very delicious meal. Once you have eaten all of the meat off the bones, then you can take all the bones. So don't throw away the bones. So save all the bones, and you're simply going to put it into your crock pot. And then when you put it into your crock pot or your little Dutch oven, you're going to add some vinegar, some apple cider vinegar. Why can I not remember apple cider vinegar? Some apple cider vinegar, just to get more of the marrow out of the bones. So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to then able to make your own personal chicken broth, which you then can freeze yourself. So what I did is I made a big batch of broth, and then I used my ice trays and simply filled up all of the ice trays with the broth, froze it, and then put it into these bags. So this bag alone, I can simply take a little bit of the broth and then put it into meals. So bone broth in and of itself, it's filled with tons of amino acids. You're able to pull a lot of extra proteins and fats from it simply by just having it like available in the frozen form and adding it to any meal that you're looking to have added for extra flavor as well as extra nourishment. What's a good vegetarian alternative to that? Great question. So this is where you want to save as much of your veggie scraps as you possibly can. So let's say you're like peeling your tuber, in this case your squash, and instead of throwing out even like the skins or the rinds or the seeds, you simply put that into a bowl. So like put that into like a bowl, and it doesn't matter what type of kind of scrap it is. So just put into like a bowl. Start keeping your scraps like in one of these like bags, and then I would say like once your bag is sort of half filled with veggie scraps, you kind of do the same process. You add water into your crock pot. You add a little bit of like vinegar and salt there, and you just let it go. So after 6 to 8 hours, you'll have your own veggie stock. Now the difference is that you'll have stock, which means that you could heighten any flavor of food that you're preparing, but you're not getting the benefits that a bone broth would actually give you. So that's just the difference there. But for sure, save your vegetables and make your like veggie scraps as you possibly can. Okay, what if you don't have a crock pot, Dutch oven, or Instapots? Then it's simply just finding the biggest pot that you have. So in my case, this is a pot that you have. Then it's pretty much just trying to put it onto low heat as you possibly can, and then using whatever it is that you have. So like low heat, biggest pot that you have, and you can still do everything that I'm sharing with you. The crock pot or the Dutch oven or the Instapot just sort of helps the process just because it has more properties. So like for example, the Dutch oven actually holds and retains like more heat than if you simply just use like a regular like big like aluminum pot. That's all. All right. Are there any veggie scraps that shouldn't be used to make broth, i.e., seeds or something? So you can use pretty much all of it. With the veggie broth itself, after it's all done, and if there's interest here, I can actually show you kind of what it looks like. I'll actually have to collect my own veggies for a week just to kind of give you an example. But after you strain it out, all the scraps that are in there that's actually making the veggie stock, you're going to be straining it out using either a colander or a cheesecloth, so that all the things, even the seeds, will hopefully be caught into either the colander or the cheesecloth. All right, where was I? Okay, so what to prepare? These are all really great questions. I'm glad to know that this is what you're interested in learning. All right, so again, so I am not a vegetarian, so a lot of my food will have meat in it, but you can make the vegetarian alternative to everything that I'm sharing with you. So for example, I just mentioned that if you have your chicken, you roasted it up, you have your tubers, you're saving the bones, you simply have now made stock. Any chicken, extra scraps that you've had, any of the meat that was like pulled from the bones, and or meat that you sort of have saved over, you can simply start making your own chicken soup. So this is where you once again either take your crock pot, your Dutch oven, or your big bowl here, and you start using your tools, whatever you have, the best you possibly can. So again, think about what can you use to enhance the flavor. So you can never go wrong with onions, garlic, and peppers. So if you simply just mince up the onions, the garlic, and the peppers, you create a little like roux on there. So like roux just means you're like mixing up all the varying flavors with some oil. I would recommend some high heat oil, whether it be avocado oil or walnut oil or butter. Olive oil is meant to be a medium to low heat oil. It has a low smoke point, which means that it turns rancid and is not supposed to be used for high heats. So something to consider as far as what you're using for your oils. If you don't have access to a high heat oil at this time, then of course use what you got. Simply to get those flavors going. And then a simple thing is just to take your veggies, your stock that you just made, and any meats that you want, and just put it into a low slow boil or simmer for anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. So that way, minimally, you can at least get like a big stock of food prepared, ready to go. And then you're gonna need to want all of your to-go containers. So I'm a pretty good saver when I think I can reuse something. So these were to-go containers for meals that we've had in the past, and I simply just saved it and put it in, froze it, wrote the name on there and the date in which it went in there, and it's simply just kind of like living in the freezer for the time being. And similar, I made a recipe for a beef chili, and you can do the same thing for a veggie chili. And then I also made a beef stew. So that helped me prepare for at least 3 varieties of meals that I can rotate should I need to access it and I don't have the ability to cook myself because I got sick. So just think through, how do you start freezing your meals in an appropriate way. And then another tip as far as like freezing goes, I'm just going to kind of leave this here just so I don't make everyone dizzy, myself dizzy. But also there's other things that you can also freeze in preparation for not being able to cook. So let me give you just a couple more examples of things that I froze and have also bought, so you could be prepared. Okay. So first things first is with all of your, this is annoying. All right, so with all of your veggies that you actually don't have access to getting to for that week, you can also think about freezing it. So actually this has been a couple months now. So I had a whole bunch of kale that I harvested literally from my garden last year and didn't have access to it. And I bought a couple of like freezer bags and just sliced them up, chopped them up, and then put it into these freezer bags ready to go. So I simply just take a bunch of kale, throw it into a hot recipe. So if I'm making chicken soup and I just warm this up, I'll take my bag of kale and throw it in there, and that adds more nutrients. Yes, you do want to wash your veggies before you use them, especially now, to make sure that they are clean. Same with cauliflower. So as we know, like cauliflower comes in that big head, and it also takes just a tremendous amount of room. So what I did was I minced a bunch of cauliflower into little rice fillets, and then made a bag. So same, I can simply just either add any recipe, or I can just add some oil pan and then make cauliflower rice pretty quickly. All right, I have a question that came in. Can other veggies be frozen like fresh cans like broccoli and asparagus? Yes. Yes, you can. So, and the companies do it for you as well. So, if you don't have access to fresh veggies that are on the shelf right now, and you want to make sure that you do get some good nourishment, at least look for frozen veggies at this time. So these are another way to make sure that at least you're getting your vegetables in during this time. And if you can't find your fresh veggies on the shelf, then look for some veggies that are frozen, and then you can keep frozen in your fridge. And these are very easy to cook up, very easy to thaw. So no worries there. Okay, so that kind of gives you an example of what's in my fridge, what's in my freezer. Now let me kind of show you what's in my cabinet, and a few snacks that I keep on hand as I go throughout my day. All right, so behind me is my snack cabinet. It's not fully all healthy, but I try to do my best as best as I possibly can as well. But let me show you things that are grab and go things that I've been using. Okay, so first things first, I bought a bunch of these 88 acre bars. So they're pretty much just like seed bars. So if I don't necessarily want a full meal, but I want to make sure that I'm at least getting some healthy fats in me, I'm pulling one of these bars in and keeping them fully stocked. And then mixed nuts. So mixed nuts are going to be your kind of best friend of snacking at this point. So they'll keep you satiated. They have some like great properties around like amino acids and healthy fats. Just putting a handful of it, you'll feel very satiated versus just pretty much just having high intensity like chips, like I have the rest in my background. So first thing I try to do is if I'm feeling hungry and I don't want a full meal, something naughty, then I do have chips available because I'm only human and I need to survive this as well. So, and then let's see, fruits. So fruits. All right. So I got my fruits here. I got my bananas and I got my oranges and apples. So oranges and apples are great because they keep a lot longer than things like bananas. And then you can also add things to your fruits to make it that much more nourishing. So for example, you can simply like slice up an apple and then add some like peanut butter to it. So really simple, snack, got your fiber, got your healthy fats. It's very, very filling. If you kind of make it, nice and pretty, just by like slicing it up and putting a scoop of peanut butter into it, it looks delicious. Like you're like in a restaurant. It'd be fun. And then oranges. So oranges. Again, like I've been finding myself eating oranges simply because like they actually take a longer time to eat with like peeling it and chewing it and having like the whole like fiber experience of bringing down an orange. So it keeps you sort of satiated and feeling of like full, so you're not always just like mindlessly eating stuff. Fiber experience. All right. Oh, and then bananas. So I have a few bananas here. As you can see, they're at varying stages of ripeness. And the reason why I bought extra bananas is one, like they're quick and easy, like breakfast grab and goes or grab and stays at this point that you can just have, and it can feel as if you just had like a meal. However, I'm also experimenting with a lot of like new baking opportunities. So I've been taking the banana that I either couldn't use, and I'm either putting them into my smoothies that I use my kefir on, or I'm going to be making some more banana bread. So it's a little naughty, but giving you something to do. So this is where this came from, right? So it's a really great recipe. Maybe I can do one live for you, but it's pretty much just taking flour, brown sugar, bananas, and kind of putting it into like a bin and making something like very delicious. Again, I don't know if I would count it as nourishing, but it is delicious. It takes some time. It's a new skill to learn. Baking. So yeah, so hope that gives you guys a good understanding as far as just how to think through your food. So again, some just highlighted tips. One, think about like tubers, water vegetables that will stay long, both in the shelf as well as the fridge. Number two is how do I prep and think through meals that I could have multiple times. So whether that be, the chicken broth recipe or stock that you can make, or the veggie stock that you can make. So, not just having one meal, but having like, in this case, 3 meals. Number three, how do you take that and then start, freezing your meals in preparation for no one being able to actually, cook in the house if someone actually falls ill. And then number 4, keeping, healthy snacks around. So, you're not just kind of binging on all the naughty stuff like I have back there, but that's fine. Okay. All right. Well, I am here for you. Obviously, today is Monday, March 23rd, and the rest of the team at Newton Community Farm, we're here for you as well. So on Wednesday, I want you to tune in because Hope Kelly is going to be with us and sharing some great things about like gardening and kind of what to do with kids. And then on Fridays, we're going to have our very own Executive Director Sue with some great stories that she's going to be sharing with kids and whatnot. So we are here for you as a community, whether it be online now or when we get back to the farm. Can't wait to see you guys live and in person. So so stay tuned, be safe, be healthy, and talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.